Okay, so art fairs and markets. You've been digging deep, finding out what they're all about, and honestly, it's easy to get swept up in the excitement, right? I mean, the energy, the potential buyers, you sharing your art with the world, it feels huge. But then it's like, whoa, where do I even begin?
It's true that initial wave of enthusiasm can quickly turn into, oh my gosh, there's so much to think about.
Exactly. Luckily, that's what we're diving into today. And I always appreciate a source that keeps it real. And this one doesn't sugarcoat it. Art fairs, they're not some guaranteed path to like overnight success or anything.
Right, like it's not about just showing up with your art and boom, instant riches. This source does a great job highlighting both the tangible and, this is key, the intangible benefits that come with doing an art fair. Yeah, sales are fantastic, but it's about more than that.
It's like a direct line to your audience, right?
Yeah.
You get that real-time feedback. You see what people are drawn to.
Exactly. It's invaluable market research. And honestly, the networking opportunities can be huge too. But like any business venture, gotta look at both sides. This source doesn't shy away from the potential downsides either.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are some of the things people should be prepared for?
Well, for one, the costs. Booth fees can be pretty steep depending on the fair. Then you've got travel, setting up your display, materials, not to mention your time is valuable.
Oh, absolutely. Time is money, as they say.
And then there's the competition. You're sharing the spotlight with a lot of other talented artists, so standing out is key.
It makes you realize why choosing the right fair is so crucial. Speaking of, I found that this source's breakdown of the different venue types was really helpful. It mentioned art fairs, weekend, or street markets, and then like art shows. Was that how they broke it down?
Yeah, exactly. And that distinction is so important because they each attract a different kind of crowd, have a different vibe.
So like art fairs, those are the ones that are usually juried, higher end, right?
Exactly. So yeah, higher end, maybe a more selective clientele, potentially bigger sales, but also you're going to have higher booth fees, a more competitive atmosphere.
Right, right. Then you got your weekend or street markets, which I always feel like are a bit more, I don't know, laid back.
Definitely. More laid back, more diverse crowds, maybe more families and things like that, and usually a lower barrier to entry.
Which could be good or bad, depending on what you're aiming for, right?
Exactly. You might encounter more casual art enthusiasts than serious collectors. And then, of course, there are the art shows, and those are hyper specific.
Right, like pottery shows, or maybe it's a fiber art festival, something like that.
Yeah. So if your work fits that niche perfectly, you're golden. But it also might limit your reach compared to, say, a general art fair.
Right, it's about finding that sweet spot, your people,
Right.
which is why the source emphasizes research, research, research.
Absolutely, because picture this.
Yeah.
You spend weeks, maybe even months, preparing for this fair, pouring your heart into it, and then you get there and your art style just clashes with the overall vibe.
Oof, yeah, talk about a punch to the gut, and nobody wants that.
No, not at all. So yeah, take the time to really dig into the details. Who usually attends? What's the location like? The overall feel of the fair? Even connecting with artists who have participated in the past can be super helpful.
It's like getting the inside scoop, right?
Hmm.
Because what you see online isn't always the full picture. Okay, so you've weighed the pros and cons, you've got a good sense of your goals, and you've started narrowing down the type of fair that feels right for you and your art. What's next?
This is where it starts to get really exciting. You've put in the groundwork, you're clear on what you want to achieve, and you've got that like ideal art fair in your sights. Now it's all about transforming your booth into this immersive experience. It's not just about showcasing your art, it's about showcasing you.
I love that. It's like, yeah, anyone can hang paintings on a wall, right? But how do you make your booth stand out? And this source had some really insightful stuff about branding, which honestly, I think a lot of artists maybe overlook.
It's true. They get so focused on the art itself, which makes sense, but your booth, it's an extension of your work, your brand. Like imagine walking up to this super sleek, modern booth, minimalist, and then the art is all like whimsical watercolor landscapes. It wouldn't quite track, would it?
It'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like walking into a bakery expecting croissants, but finding, I don't know, jalapeno bagels
Yeah,
throws you off.
exactly. This source really drove home the importance of cohesion, that everything needs to be telling the same story. Your color palette, the fonts you use, even like the overall theme or mood you're going for, they should all reflect your unique style.
It's all about that visual storytelling. Like if your art is super vibrant, maybe your booth incorporates some of those same colors or textures.
Exactly. Or let's say your work is all about like, nature and earthy textures. Maybe you bring in some natural wood elements, keep the lighting soft and warm. It just creates this cohesive, inviting feeling.
Oh, I love that. It's like you're stepping into the world of your art even before you really look at the pieces themselves. Speaking of which, this source blew my mind a little with its take on incorporating tech into your booth.
Yeah.
I mean, we're living in a digital age, right?
Yeah.
How do you bring that element in?
It's not just about having a website anymore. You've got to meet people where they are, and a lot of times that's online. The source talked a lot about QR codes, which I thought was interesting.
QR codes are so hot right now, and they make so much sense. Like you see a piece you love, you scan the code, and boom, you've got all the info right there.
You can link it to your portfolio, your shop, even your artist statement. It's like an instant digital handshake. This source also talked about having like a tablet or even your phone with your portfolio pulled up.
Especially if you do custom work.
Yes. Show off what you can do. They can see different sizes, variations, all that.
It's like next level professional.
Mhm.
And of course, we can't forget about social media. It's practically its own beast these days, but in a good way if you use it right.
Definitely. This source talked about creating a dedicated hashtag for the fair, having maybe like a fun photo op area in your booth, encouraging people to share, engage.
Ooh, even something simple like a little sign that says, snap a selfie with your favorite piece and tag us.
Right. Exactly. You're making it interactive. Okay, but let's talk about actually displaying your work within the booth. You could have the most amazing art in the world, but if it's not presented well.
It's like having a gorgeous website with like zero functionality.
Right. And this source had a great point about like best foot forward, Your most eye-catching pieces, those go front and center at eye level. Those are your attention grabbers.
First impressions are everything, right?
Hmm.
So those are your statement pieces. Then it's about creating that flow, like you're curating an experience within the booth.
Yes. And thinking about lighting, maybe playing with heights. Don't be afraid to get creative with your displays. But also, don't underestimate the practical stuff either. Secure your pieces well, especially if it's outdoors. You don't want things blowing over.
Oh, a sudden gust of wind, turning your artwork into a kite. Not ideal. This source had some great tips about sturdy display panels, canopies for outdoor events.
Being prepared is key. Okay, now imagine this. People are flocking to your booth. It looks incredible. They're captivated by your art, your story. The energy is buzzing. Connections are being made.
And the best part is, someone connects with your art so much that they want to take it home with them. I mean, there's nothing quite like seeing that red dot, knowing your work resonated with someone.
It's the best feeling. And this source had some really solid advice for making that whole transaction process as smooth as possible because, gone are the days of just cash in a jar.
Right. I mean, having a card reader these days is pretty much non-negotiable.
Pretty much. And don't underestimate the convenience of those mobile payment apps like PayPal, Venmo, things like that, especially at art fairs.
Makes it so easy for everyone. Oh, and this source brought up something I thought was really smart, talking about sales tax.
Ah, yes, the not so fun part of, well, any business, really.
Taxes, right. But it doesn't have to be a headache.
Exactly. And this source broke it down really well, like keeping track of your income and expenses, having a system in place from the get-go. Honestly, a simple spreadsheet can work wonders.
Spreadsheet or even some of those apps that are specifically designed for like small businesses and freelancers.
Yeah, there's some great ones out there. That way, come tax time, you're not like drowning in receipts.
No more shoeboxes full of crumpled up receipts.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Right. Talk about peace of mind. And speaking of peace of mind, this source brought up something that, honestly, I don't think a lot of artists consider until maybe it's too late.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Insurance.
Oh, right. It's like when you're caught up in the excitement of everything, it's easy to forget about the what ifs.
Totally. But it's so important, just like with any business. The source recommended looking into liability insurance, in case someone were to get injured at your booth,
Yeah.
trip over something.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly. And then, of course, insuring your actual artwork. I mean, those pieces are irreplaceable.
Absolutely. Okay, wow, we really covered a lot today. From choosing the right art fair to like branding your booths, making those sales, all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
It can feel kind of overwhelming, right?
It's a lot to take in, for sure. But, I think the biggest takeaway from all of these sources is this. Every artist starts somewhere.
It's true. Those artists you see who Like, just seem to, like, float through the art fair scene
Yeah,
effortlessly.
or once in your shoes.
Totally. So
Yeah.
be kind to yourself. You know, every fair is a learning experience, a chance to experiment and refine what works for you. And honestly, don't forget to have fun.
Yes. Because that passion, that joy you have for what you do, it shines through more than anything.
Beautifully said. This is your reminder that you are talented, you are capable, and your art deserves to be shared with the world. So get out there, find those fairs that light you up, and keep those creative sparks flying. We'll be back next week, diving into a whole new topic. Until then, happy creating, everyone.